go. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Why did I hit that? I don't know why. I was just going through. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another live stream. This is actually week number 102 of consecutive live streams each and every week that I've done on my channel. Welcome, you guys all, for joining in. Thank you so much for hopping in. I know many of you are doing, getting prepared for maybe you still have exams going on this week. So hopefully this live stream can be beneficial to you. And I'm happy to kind of answer whatever questions I can from you guys inside the chat. But again, I am going to focus on at first working with the questions that were pre-submitted to me. So again, if you did not get, if you're kind of wondering, or maybe it's your first stream, wondering how can you pre-submit some questions, all you simply need to do for that, ladies and gentlemen, is, I knew I deleted that. All you guys need to simply do for that is to go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. It's also inside of the, inside the chat. It is pinned right there. So I'm just going to go and get to my analytics on the, not my analytics, but my dashboard for the live stream, which I accidentally knocked down. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that up just so I can go and follow along in case there's something that's going on. So anyways, good to have, soy sauce dude. Congratulations. You got the exam. Best of luck. Did I shave? Yes, I did shave. Well, I don't really shave. I just kind of use my, my clipper, and I just use my clipper on my mouth and not my mouth, but my beard and my head. I've been doing that for years. It saves me a lot of money. 2 years of weeks. Yes, it's a lot. Almost there. And I did live stream before that. And I do a lot of live streams, you know, but it was always kind of like hit or miss. So a lot of times when I was doing homework or anything like that, that's when I was always, you know, kind of doing those. So it was always like hit or miss from there. Erof, hola. And I looked at your question. I would have to go and take a look at that. Sorry. I saw your factory completely, and that looks like a good question. So I'm not going to be able to get to it on this live stream. I'll have to definitely look into that a little bit deeper. I was like the last one. That's when it was at the zeros. And I was like, oh crap. So I'll have to come back to you. Sorry on that one. Ringer said, any tips on how I should prepare for my final on Thursday besides studying? Well, yeah, I think you got to, you know, I'm sure you probably have some other finals going on through this week. So just try to segment yourself. Don't, you know, make sure you're kind of compartmentalizing what you're working on. You know, don't be trying to study for everything on different nights. So break it up. I think, mix up doing some studying, doing actually working through some problems, reviewing some notes, you know, just don't be doing the same thing. Cause I think it gets pretty boring if you're just like, you know, reviewing your tests or your quizzes or, you know, your notes. You know, practice some problems, maybe redo some problems that you got right or wrong on the test. Maybe retake a quiz, you know, just kind of change it up. Just, I think a lot of times when people also do the same thing over and over and they just get very bored with it. And then they just decide, well, I don't really want to do it. I don't really, you know, not really enjoying this. And, you know, maybe they, won't put in the final effort to finish off. So I think you have to kind of have studying a little bit enjoyable. And I think part of that is making it kind of fresh and different from there. And Army, hello. And Chardonnay, well, thank you so much. Math is my worst subject and you made getting through it easier. Well, thank you so much. You know, thank you so much. You're very welcome. I had a quiz last Friday. Do you think I will have another quiz before break 2 weeks from now? I have absolutely no idea. I would say it all depends on the class. Some classes I give quizzes much more often, and then other classes I didn't give quizzes as much. But I would say roughly every 2 weeks, we were giving like some sort of assessment, either a quiz or a test. So, you know, I know in some courses, like when I would teach AP Calculus, I mean, almost every week we were doing some sort of assessment. So it was all going through there. Oh, and I totally forgot, actually, the theme of this, this is actually what was going to be what I named, what I was going to missing from the classroom. Totally forgot about that. So I'll get into that in just a second. So one of the things, I was working on some more math videos that are going to be coming up that I'm kind of getting prepared for this upcoming year, getting that curriculum ready. And one of the things that just kind of came to me is like what I'm really, you know, some things that I really just kind of miss about being inside the classroom. And so obviously some of the major ones you guys will be probably very familiar with, but I wanted to also just kind of share with you some of my thoughts. So I'll get to those once I get to that. Well, best of luck, Emily. Which on Thursday, wait, it looks like everybody has a lot on Thursday this week. Awesome. Thank you for helping me pass. You are very welcome. I would just do math every day, tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, or sorry, do it tonight, tonight, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I would try to do a little bit less on, just maybe like review your notes. Don't be trying to do as much problem. Just try to like go through a broad review, but just be a little bit more relaxed. Try to get a good night's rest. That's the kind of the main thing I think is so important for you guys. Yeah, I think it all depends. For most students, the calculus is going to be at the end. So I think it all really. I know a lot of people that really struggle with, even with doing with their with trig or an algebra or geometry or even statistics. They just don't like it, or physics. So I think it just really kind of depends on the student and also the teaching and and also what other courses they're taking during that time. I need some help with quadratic stuff. Yeah, I get it. I think I have a couple quadratic problems we'll be getting into. All right. So I actually want to go and take a look at I did a poll today on my channel because I wanted to see if anybody would kind of what the results are. And I actually didn't share with you guys. So I'll go and populate those maybe, and we can go and take a look at them. See what you guys thought. Let's go to my community tab here. All right. And making videos on my whiteboard. Yes, that is, actually I was able to respond to all those. Cool. Watching light bulb click on. Yeah, that's very much, so it was actually really kind of funny. So, I know not many students would probably like think about this, but it is, so it's kind of curious. I think so on my channel, I asked the question, what do you think I would miss most about teaching inside the classroom? And I said either refining my lessons or making videos on my whiteboard. And obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I definitely go ahead and miss my whiteboard. But I think that one of the natural things about and actually I should have had, if there was really one thing that'd be different with this, would actually be teaching with an audience. And that was actually one thing that I didn't put on there. But I think that's one of the things is like when I'm teaching now, or, at least talking with you guys, I have somebody, answering behind there that I can definitely, do I have this on everything? Why is that? Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, and just please be careful with the addition. We don't only need one comment. Otherwise I'll have to go to a members only stream. So trying to keep it so everybody has the opportunity. So let's please, keep the extra spamming to a minimum. But I, one of the things I mentioned was like the refining lessons or teaching on my whiteboard. And yeah, I think one of the big things is not so much even teaching my whiteboard, but I think it's actually just teaching in front of an audience, just having students to engage with, talk back and forth with, but also that comes into something else, which is really that like feedback. And that was kind of like the point that actually I was trying to make is actually one of the things I was really struggling with is the opportunity to like refine my lessons. And I think that's I was working through some work today and I was, prepping my lessons, and it was actually very difficult because I'm not used to, creating a lesson when, when I create a lesson, and obviously you might say, oh, well, math's the same thing. And like, yeah, it is. But like, obviously when you're teaching something, you're like, every year you're adding in new things and you're adding, you have different time constraints, and you also want there's things sometimes you want your students to know. Some things you're like, they don't really have to know this now, or we can introduce this later. And I think one of the hardest things that I kind of found was when I was kind of creating this lesson where I don't really have a classroom to kind of work with this I'm creating these lessons not based on my own kind of circumstance within the classroom, right? Like, oh, I only have like a half day to teach this lesson, or how am I going to make these things together? And it was actually really difficult. And I was surprised because I knew teaching on my whiteboard, like, yes. And I miss teaching in front of a classroom, and having that like dialogue, that back and forth, rather than like staring at a computer screen with a camera on. But it was also very difficult to kind of get that, not that instant feedback, And one thing I wrote in my email is when students are asking questions or when you see where students are making their mistakes, like that helps you refine how you want your lesson to be, so that it can flow and meet your audience, meet your class, your students for that particular day. And even though I have a lot of those memories of, where students make mistakes and a lot of that understanding, it was also kind of difficult as I was like creating these videos to like create this lesson. And I was like, man, it's really, really helpful to have that kind of like classroom feedback. That's something I kind of like took for granted. And I don't think that I thought I was going to miss it as much as I really did. So, I actually probably wrote it down really wrong, but yeah, like actually refining the lesson was actually one of the things I missed about it the most. It was kind of weird. All right. If you're going to read a poll, I wonder if we can give you a poll of how we're going to do a semester from everyone. I'm sure. Is ability to comprehend math is due to the student can't understand math, or is it because the teacher can't teach properly? I think there's probably a good component of both of those. I don't think it's definitely going to be one or the other. Well, that's good to know. And I use the sine law and the right triangle. Could I lose marks for that? I think it all depends on what the directions were, to be honest with you. And hey, Dr. Phillip, that's good to hear from you. And from Zambia, awesome. This is math, not typing class. Yeah, seriously. And a few hours, wish me luck. Well, you got this. Best of luck. I think the easiest way to learn math is, to break things down into the easiest chunks. I mean, when students can relate to what they're learning in mathematics and relate it to more complicated things, I mean, that's the whole basics of learning, right? So I think the easiest thing about learning math is like finding something that you understand, something, basic, and then obviously building up from there. And then obviously refining that, practicing and going over it multiple times is going to help as well. Okay. I wonder if we can give you a poll of tough. I'm not sure I understand. Yes, I am, but it's not something I usually have. I usually didn't teach from on there for when I was teaching in the limit in calculus. So I'm familiar with it, but it's not something I went and taught from. Yes, you got this. Thank you. If one is so bored that they must ban, this is there. Yes, thank you very much. Does a person have to know everything in math to become a math teacher? No, absolutely not. Actually, if you look at some of my like way earlier like videos, I mean, there was a lot of like explanations, even though I had a math degree. Like there are still things that I don't think I definitely didn't fully understand. And it took years of actually teaching for me to really refine not only my explanations, but really my full understanding of how all the math was really interconnected. So no, definitely not at all. And, that's kind of a scary thing. But also think it's a very helpful thing that, we're always learning. And that's the one thing that, I want people to, continuously grow is like, I'm not afraid of making mistakes in front of you guys. I'm not afraid. Like there's tons of videos of me making mistakes. Some of them are mental errors, right? And then some of them are, I wasn't prepped, properly before I went ahead and did the problem. But I think, I'm not afraid to make errors. I'm human and I don't understand everything. I'm not a math genius. For many of you, I'm just like you. I was just, I struggled with math, had to work really hard, and I have done a lot of math problems in my day. And, but yeah, math, doesn't come easy to me. So a lot of times, I take it with a whole bunch of humility. Like I'm okay to struggle with math. Like I'm not trying to put on a face for you guys where I am better than you. And because I know more math than you, which, probably some people on the stream, definitely not, it's the same way. Like, so I think it's important for people to feel comfortable trying and feel comfortable making mistakes. And so I think that's important also even for a math teacher, to grow and learn with the students as the year goes on. And that comes with that, kind of feedback that I was talking about as well. Hardest unit in Algebra 2. I would say a lot of students struggle in Algebra 2, I think, with the polynomials. I think also if you're doing like linear programming and the like systems of equations, like three linear systems, and if you're doing like the, I think students just sometimes have a hard time with all of that, like the linear program, the graphing, and using the optimization function. And then, like the polynomials, I think just, using, doing a lot of the factoring. I think a lot of students just kind of get like overwhelmed in that unit. It's like a lot. I was wondering what your question, if you want to post it back in there, feel free for there. Sorry, I didn't really understand what you had. Have you ever had a student who's forming? Yeah, happen all the time. Well, you're very welcome. Well, thank you so much. Go back to cramming. Do exercise. I'm not strong on math. Oh, okay. I wonder if we can give you a poll next semester of our class curriculum for you to see what people are going over maybe. If we can give you a poll. I'm not sure. Like we can definitely, I know most students' curriculum is like, as far as what you're going is like what my content would go over. And yeah, that's, part of one of the things is just I have a lot of content. I've taught, I have over 12,000 videos. And so one of my things I'm trying to do is like kind of go back over some curriculum. So some of it is, yes, I think that would be a little bit, it's nice to kind of see what most people are going through, throughout the year. And I think one of the things I want to do for the upcoming year is also do some additional live streams for you guys. And that's one thing I kind of talked about wanting to do for like for different curriculum. And so I think that's something we can definitely do, like kind of like per content based. I think it'd probably be a little bit easier. If you go ahead and submit any guys' math questions, go ahead and submit it into the chat, and I'll be more than happy to get to them. Again, brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Not into the chat. Sorry on that link. Is quadratics hard from your experience? No, I wouldn't say in like general quadratics is like very difficult. I have a lot of experience with quadratics. I'm not saying I know how to do every single problem that you could ever ask on quadratics, but I think once you kind of have the basic understanding of the symmetry and the process for solving them and rewriting them and their characteristics, then then you kind of have a good foundation of how to approach different questions and what you're going to be needing to do and the process to go ahead and do that. And obviously, we can throw in really difficult numbers and really difficult ways to have you do a problem. But in general, I think, I think in general, you're going to be okay, or it's rather contained as far as different processes you're going to work on. Yes, Meryl. Every year, actually not even every single class. That's, it's like every single class. I was always learning something new, and like that's, so I was going through my lesson. I was like, I've taught this like years and years, many, many years. Right. But it was like still every single year, I'm always changing how I want to approach the question, changing how I want to teach the concept. I never reuse like the same lessons or anything like that. I was always refining and readjusting from on there. So yes, as I had that. What would you say is the hardest thing for you to teach, or your least favorite to teach? My hardest thing to teach, I think usually just the stats, because I never I only took like one course in stats. I never really had a lot of prep in far as like statistics and probability. So I'd definitely say that was my hardest thing to teach, just because my explanations I don't think were as refined. I didn't have a lot of practice with it. And then my least favorite, and I'd probably say that'd be my least favorite, like just because I had to prep a lot more for every class. It wasn't something naturally that I was like that I like knew off the top. I had to like prepare all my notes and all my lectures for all that a lot more than for any other content area. Yes, pre-calculus stuff definitely just you're going to get a lot of foundation with the algebra, and definitely introduction into the trig, which will be very helpful for you. I also plan to study, but my friend says I study too much. How much is good before I take a break? I think you should be working on like 30-minute intervals and then forcing yourself to take 10 to 15-minute breaks. Your brain really does need the break. I mean, I don't know how you're relating to what your friend was saying, but yes, you do need to take breaks and force yourself to take breaks. Like take a 10-minute, just a walk. A lot of times, I mean, I have when I'm working at home, like I walk around my block and it's like 15 minutes. And like, that's just enough for me to reset. And then I get back in the zone. Right. And I'm working whatever I need to be doing. So, yeah, I'd highly recommend, kind of working in like 30, 45-minute chunks. Obviously, if you get like in the zone, go a little bit longer. But you got to take yourself breaks, and, just like anything else, like you want to break up your studying. You don't want to be doing 4 hours every night. Try to start as early as you can. It's a little late, I know, for people that have exams coming up this week, but, try to start early and work through those exams from on there. Also, I plan on studying, but my friend, okay. What should a grade Math 5 teacher know if they want to become a math teacher? Certainly not calculus. Well, calculus would be really helpful for a grade math teacher, but yes, it's not necessary. And I'm not really even familiar. Like my certification was 6 to 12, and so I'm not even sure what everything would encompass down like below 5th grade. So, but I think you'd obviously have to have a different certification for on that. So whatever would encompass from there, I'm not really sure. Well, you're very welcome, Augustine. Pancakes, you are very welcome. Thank you. 12,000 meals, yes, just a little bit more, but yeah, and I definitely have a lot more that I'm looking into continue doing. I would just do it in many examples as possible, because proofs can be tough. So if you can, I think the best way is like doing proofs that you know how to do. So, or at least that you have the answer to, right? So if you have proofs written out, like go back over them, like cover them up and try to do the proof on your own. And if you get stuck, like look back at the answers and then keep on doing that exact same proof over and over and over again until you can do it on your own. Okay. And then do another proof again, where you have the answer written out, cover it up, try to do it on your own. You get stuck, look at how the proof is written and then figure it out and then keep on doing. But you want to see the more examples that you can work through on proofs, the better you're going to get at it. What got you into mathematics and teaching? I just enjoyed like mathematics. I wanted to be a teacher. I enjoyed teaching others. I enjoyed helping others. And then math was really kind of like the only subject that I kind of like liked. I wasn't great at it, but I just kind of liked it out of all the other classes I took. Can you please tell your high school journey and how you were in high school versus now? Well, I do have some other videos that I will be bringing up as far as my high school days. But yeah, in high school, I wasn't really concerned about my grades. I mean, obviously I was a good student. I was in the National Honor Society. I was a 3-sport athlete. So I played football, wrestling, baseball. I was in the symphonic band. So I was very busy all the time, doing always something for on that. And then, but yeah, so like, math was like not my main focus. I was just doing sports and band and, friends and stuff like that. So, I didn't really care as much once I got into my college. Like I went to Western Michigan. So once I got into my college, I just kind of like, didn't really give up, but I just didn't really care. I was very unmotivated my senior year. The senioritis hit me hard, and, I was actually ineligible from my progress report for baseball. So I had to bring up my grades, and, but after I did that, it was just kind of like getting across the finish line, from on there. But otherwise I was a pretty, good kid. There's a lot of examples on this run, tons of examples, but, obviously you're just look at anything that we do for, just one great example, just even look at astronomy, like noticing distance and everything like that, like in the angles and figuring that out. But there's a ton of examples you can go ahead and relate to. How can I do better on a test? That's a very open circuit. You got to practice, go through, it's like when you're taking a test, I would make sure that get your questions answered. Make sure you know how to do your homework. Make sure you know how to do your quizzes. Go back through all your notes. You should feel 100% confident you know how to do everything before you get to that test, right? Overconfident that you know everything up to that test. Okay. That's how I want you walking into that day of the test. Yeah, this one's kind of tough. I know a lot of you guys, with COVID and everything else, like missing a whole bunch of days. I mean, you got to go back and go through the information. You got to get those notes. If you can stay after with friends, you stay after with your teacher, go to tutor lab, whatever it may be, but you got to make sure you go back through. Just don't try to whenever time you miss something, you have to work twice as hard. And I remember hearing that when I was in high school, and I'm like, that's stupid. That's not really real. But it's totally true. And it's the same thing. I heard it for sports. It wasn't really for school. It was for sports. Like when you miss a practice, like you have to work twice as hard to get caught up. And I didn't really feel it as much when I was younger, but now that I'm older and my body has taken a little bit more, like I totally feel like if I miss a workout, I do have to the next workout that I have to do is harder for me. It's much harder. Like I have to work harder because I missed that day. So when you miss a class, 2, 3, just think of working twice as hard to get back caught up. It all depends on your degree from there. So, I went to mathematical arts. So I was taking linear algebra was my next course after my calculus series. Linear algebra, and then I just started taking a whole linear algebra and then abstract algebra, and then I was just taking all sorts of math classes. Then it was just everything. But I probably usually say a linear algebra course is probably pretty popular for you to take after a calculus. Once you kind of have that down, then you're taking a linear algebra. Well, you got this, Chris. Periodic function is going to be one that's going to repeat. So I'd be like a sine, cosine, tangent. All those have a periodic that are going to keep repeating. Half-life is something that's going to kind of reduce in that half-life every certain period. So if you think about this is going to be an exponential function, but with the power or the base is going to be less than 1. So between 0 and 1. What grade you struggle the most? I would definitely say my senior year, 12th grade. I was just unmotivated as possible, completely. And I'd say also then besides that, 12th grade. I'd say freshman year was also kind of difficult too, just kind of getting used to the high school and all the new stuff. But I would definitely say senior year is my hardest. Why is that on the unit circle? There are different angles, but they have the same sine cosine value. It's all based on the special right triangles from on there. So again, if you have something specific, you can ask me, submit onto the question, but it's all based on 45, 45, 90 triangles and 30, 60, 90 triangles and how they're rotated around. So if you can find a picture of this, you can look at the special right triangle and you can see how the triangles fit into it. So I have a whole bunch of videos. If you want to look into even my videos, how you can create this unit circle, or how not to memorize the unit circle, you can see how everything's kind of created from there. But yeah, it's all because of special right triangles. Interesting question. Actually, when I moved down to Jacksonville, I had an offer to teach at a middle school as well as a high school. And kind of weird, but when I was doing my student teaching, typically when you do a student teaching, they wanted us to have an elementary or a middle school and a high school experience. And just kind of luck of just how the way things worked out, I only had experience with 2 middle schools. So I never got the experience of the high school. And I just really had this kind of itch to teach high school. And so that was it. That was kind of my final decision. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go to high school. And then I went to the high school and I was there for all of my years of teaching. Yes, you got to know the formulas. So all these formulas, all those definitions, everything you're learning, you got to know them. Write them down in a book, on a sheet of paper, keep them, study them, memorize them, whatever you need to. That is the most important thing you need to know for geometry. We got a lot of questions. Okay. And post-concussion syndrome, it's hard to stay caught up with missing so many days. Yes, I can totally agree. Just, I know when you're missing a lot of days, even whatever I say, might not even work. I mean, it's just so much. So, I mean, you can only do what you can do, and don't try to overwhelm yourself. Like, especially even if like struggling with math or, math has been something difficult, like take a little bit of time, and maybe it might not be, maybe you're not going to, maybe you can't do everything back in there. Maybe that's just not realistic. Try to do what you can to get caught up. I think definitely being in good communication with your teacher as far as what exactly you need and how they can help you, assist you in getting caught up is going to be the best that I can recommend, at least from afar, knowing the situation. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely for sure. Like, yeah, actually, I've like all my calculus, like I've definitely forgotten so much of the calculus. So I got to go back through and just start practicing more problems just to kind of get like back on the bike, as you would say. Sorry about that. So much, yeah, I know there's so much going on, guys. I can't even, I can't justify a lot of things. I know that everything's going on in the world and with schooling and stuff like that. So it's a lot. It is a lot. So, I think the main thing is, making sure that you can get in contact at least with your teacher or your friends or something to, kind of see what it is, what are some steps or what are some things that you can do so that hopefully not all hope is lost, for you. We still have hopefully half a year. I've had many students that have failed a semester, and they came back and they did well for the rest of the year, right? And, if you can still like salvage something for the year and then maybe all you need to do is like retake a quarter, retake a semester, that might be something good, or if you have to retake the whole year, but you remember half of it and you just, there's only a little bit that you struggle, that might be a good benefit as well. All right. Well, you're very welcome. Lucky Gamer, if you can go ahead and post that into bradmclogan.com/Q&A, I will try to add that in there. But basically, if this doesn't answer your question, then please post it there because I'll get to it. But you need to factor out the x minus 1. So when you factor out the x minus 1, you have x minus 1 times a 9x minus 4. And then you can set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Yes, I have a ton of those. Just go to my playlist page and you can find all of that. Yes, quadratics and trigonometry, definitely trigonometry. Quadratics is in trigonometry, but mostly in algebra 2 and algebra 1. You are very welcome. No, I do not. Not a lot of business math, no. Well, I'm so happy to be there for you. You got it. Best of luck. I mean, there's nothing else I can focus. I mean, I just go back through your notes, review it, take deep breaths, and you got this. Did you go to college or university? I went to the University of Western Michigan. Or University of Western Michigan University. All right. No, I mean, if you need to graph them, then you need to find the points. I mean, find the intercepts, find the x, find the y intercepts, find the asymptotes, find the holes, and then plot points. I mean, that's about it. And then use symmetry. That might make things a little bit here. Well, you got this. My mail. Best of luck. It took 4.5 years, I believe. No, I think that's good. I mean, everything's relative, so I mean, I can only go off of whatever that, but I'm happy for you. I think that's good. All right, let's go ahead and get into some math questions, ladies and gentlemen. I think it is now that time because there is quite a bit of some questions that are submitted, so I got to go and get to them. Let's get to that. All right. All right, guys. So again, if you do have a question, I thought I had this on the pin, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you do have any questions, or again, guys, if you are showing up late into the live stream, so the one thing I missed the most about leaving in the classroom is actually I did my on my little poll, but was Yes, it was teaching on the whiteboard. It was refining lessons. It's actually a combination of kind of both, because what it was is like the teaching inside the class. It's a combination of both and also neither of them. Because really what I missed from the classroom the most was just really that feedback, that natural feedback of teaching with students, and that ability to be able to refine my lessons. So the whiteboard is like, teaching on a whiteboard, and it wasn't so much teaching on the whiteboard, but I get to teach with the whiteboard with an audience. And that's something that I really, really miss from being inside the classroom. What also I missed from being inside the classroom was my ability, like each and every day, to make changes for my lesson. Like I could teach it one way, see if it worked, what didn't work, and then I would refine it. Or I'd see where students were making mistakes, or I'd see where students were making what questions they had, and then I could refine those questions. That's what I miss the most, because now when I'm not inside the classroom, I am staring at a computer screen and I am teaching, and I'm only get the feedback once I've published a video. Right. And so it's kind of difficult from on there. And that's one thing I really miss about the teaching experience. That regard, a lot of that real instant value and feedback that you got. All right, guys. So again, if you do have questions, if you have a math question for me, again, I go live each and every Sunday night. So you guys can go and post them at bradmclogan.com/Q&A. And I completely forgot, ladies and gentlemen, if I don't get your questions tonight, I do apologize. But also I do have a amazing Discord server that for any of you guys have these last minute questions that are coming up this week or in the next couple weeks, please feel free, guys, to go ahead and take advantage of those. There are people just like you that are able to answer your questions and help you guys out with all of that. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys go ahead and check them out. And, it's free for you guys to post questions. It's free for you to help other people with their questions. So please just don't go there and just, keep on asking all the tutors or everybody for help. Like, make sure you're answering questions as well. Help other people with that, because that's really what the point is of that server, is to, build up a community where people can get help with their math. And the more that people are willing to not only receive help, but help others, I think the stronger that community is going to grow. So, I guess I can go ahead and get. Oh, sorry, Xavier. I keep on submitting your stuff from there. We'll go and get you down. All right. Okay. Again, if you guys have questions, then please feel free to go and put them into bradmclogan.com/Q&A. It is pinned on there. And again, if I don't get your question in time, then you guys can definitely go to Discord as well. Post it in there. Okay. All right. Now I'm not seeing any of my moderators on here, so I'm not sure what I have. Do I have this on? Oh, I only have subscribers. Okay, cool. All right. So we got the subscribers on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into some math. Okay. No, not that one. All right. Oh, my brain hurts already. Talking so long. It's interesting. All right, cool. So, try to get in with these questions from there. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go from there. All right, cool. So again, last minute question. I'm going to get into the math. I'll be checking the chat, but I'm not going to be able to answer any questions. Depending on how fast I get through this math, then I will stand for a little bit extra time and answer any other additional questions you guys may have. So I know some of you guys have exams, so I'll try to take some math questions from there. But if you do have math questions, it's best to submit to the bradmclogan.com. Keep on getting. I live stream each and every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm very confused on horizontal vertical translations for functions. Any help? Yeah, it all depends. So when you have a function, here's f of x, right? So when we go ahead and apply this f of x minus c, that's going to be horizontal. Okay. And it's not only that, like whenever it's inside, those are what we call our horizontal transformations. That's going to be shifting left or right. And then we have plus d, that's going to be your vertical. Okay, and that's going to be outside. So what I'm talking about is inside and outside of the f of x, right? See how we have the f of x that is inside, right? And see how that is outside, right? So that's the main thing. You want something that's, I don't want to go from there. I don't want to actually confuse you. So I'm actually going to delete that. But the main thing is how it's inside of the parentheses and outside of the parentheses. That's how you know if it's vertical or versus horizontal. The other thing to remember is also this is the opposite direction. So please do remember that. A lot of people think, oh, that's C. That means it's going to the left, or it's negative C. No, it's not really negative C. It's x minus C. So that means it's actually shifting it to the right. All right. I just need help with finding the simplest form of a number that's not a perfect square. So they have the square root of 80. So there's two different ways you can do this. And this is actually one of the videos I'm going to come out with. I think one of the easiest... I was thinking from there, because you had 4, that'd be 20. It's square root of 16. Yeah, it would be. So I was just doing my math wrong. Okay. So there's two different ways that I would do this. So the first thing you could do is I would recommend finding the largest square number that evenly divides into 16. Or I'm sorry, into 80, which is going to be 16. Then you can break it up into square root of 16 times the square root of 5, right? Square root of 16 is 4, square root of 5. So that is the best, fastest, easiest way. Now, let's say you're like, I didn't know that 16 multiplied by 5, right? So what you could do is just do what we call the linear factorization method. Okay, so this is the fast way. And this is the slow way, but they both work. Okay, so what I would do is I would just divide this by 2. And I'd say, all right, then I can do this by 2 times 40, right? And then you can do it again. And then you do 2 times 2 times 20, right? And then you can do it again. I'm sorry, what am I doing? Not do, well, I guess you could break it up, whatever. Here, do it this way. So then you could do 80. How was I doing? Yeah. How was I doing? Yeah, I had it right. I don't know what I was doing. It's been a long time since I did it this way. Okay, so we do 2 times 40. And then you could do 2 times 2 times 20. And then you could do 2 times 2 times 2 times 10. Right? And that's not going to work from there. That would be 20. Yeah, that's actually a horrible way to do this. Let's just stick with that way. There's another way you could do it that way, but that linear factorization method, the way that I explained, is not going to be good. So let's skip with that. Let's just stay with that way. Sorry. Going back through, I was trying to add in. You can do the linear factorization, which is fine. You can do it that way. And actually, now I'm actually curious. What did I do wrong? 40 times 2. And this would be, 20 times 2. 2 times 10, yeah. But then you could take it up, and then you're going to have you'd still work, but then you'd have a 2 times the square root of 20, which then you'd have to do it again. So it's just weird. I don't know, 2 times 10. What am I making up wrong? Am I missing my point? Thank you. What am I missing from there? That'd be the square root of 4. I'm missing something. I'll have to go back and look at that. But either way, I think the easiest, fastest way to do is find the largest square number that evenly divides into it, and then you could break it up using that. So this one looks like we're finding the magnitude. So when you have a vector, okay, so let's call it vector u, and actually just call it v. So if I have vector v, okay, and we have components, right? We have v1, comma v2. So the magnitude of v, which they're using one line, we can use 2 lines, doesn't really matter. The magnitude of v is going to be the v1 squared plus v2 squared, right? So that's all we're simply doing is we're taking both these terms and we're just going to square them and then add them together. And that's it. That's all you simply need to do. So now in this case, they have it in terms of I and j. So that's fine. So if I had v, I could also rewrite that as v1i plus v2j. Okay, I don't want to get too much into the weeds as far as understanding this, but just realize that v1 is your coefficient of your I, and v2 is going to be your coefficient of the j. Okay, so I will do the magnitude. Oh, I guess I'll use one line here, since that's what your teacher was using. So if I want to find the magnitude of u, okay, all we're simply going to do then is do square root of 3 squared plus 1 squared. Right, so 3 squared is 9 plus 1 squared is 10, so that equals the square root of 10. Done. Okay, and then here you just apply the operations inside of that, right? So you could do u minus 1, so let's subtract the u minus 1. So if I did factor of u minus v, then basically what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the vectors. So when you subtract the vectors, that's going to be, you subtract the 3 minus the 4, and then you're going to do, that's going to be 3 minus 4i, and then you subtract the 2 j's, which would be a plus a 1 minus, now again, we should rewrite this as a negative 2j. Okay, so 3 minus 4 is going to be a negative I, and then this would be a positive 3, so that'd be plus a 3j. Right? Now, again, we want to find the magnitude of this vector, the ij. So then that's going to be the square root, run out of space here, of negative 1 squared plus 3 squared, which again is equal to the square root of 10. An isosceles triangle has an area of 24 centimeters squared. So area of a triangle equals 24 centimeters squared. The angle between the two sides is pi over 3. So that's the same thing as 60 degrees. Find the missing angles on all the sides of the triangle. So we have an isosceles triangle. That means those two are equal to each other, right? And then this is going to equal to 60 degrees. Find the missing sides and angles of all the sides. So area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, right? Now, I'm thinking if that's 60 degrees, this is isosceles. If they're saying these two angles are the same, and that's 60 degrees, if that's 60 and those two are the same, I wonder if we can conclude that these are also going to be 60 degrees, because that's going to be side angle side, and then you could draw a length here. And you could say that's going to be that. Oh, we still don't have the 1/2 base times height. Base times height. So then we always know that this is the, so if we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, actually I didn't even look at this problem. So if that's 30 and that's 60, that's x, that's 2x, right? And then this would be x times square root of 3. So if this is the base, so we have base times base square root of 3 times 1/2 equals 24, right? 1/2 base times height equals 24. So we have a b squared times the square root of 3 equals 48. I should probably actually look at this problem, so I'd maybe check it from there. I'm going to leave that open though, because I'm not sure if I set it up correctly. But then you could just go ahead and maybe, I'm assuming, solve from on there. But I'd actually have to go and double check looking at that one for you on that. Yeah, I would go and double check from on that one. All right, let's get into some other radicals. So this one is what number multiplied by itself is now to the, so the previous one we did to the 4th power, right? So in this one we want to do to the 4th power, we're looking for what number multiplied itself 4 times. Well, 3 times 3 times 3 is 20. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Times 3 again is going to be a 3 to the 4th. So minus, now that one's just going to equal 3, right? That's easy. Now over here, though, we have a little difficulty because we can't take the fourth root of 32. However, we can rewrite that in terms of fourth power. So instead of 3, right, 9 and 27 don't divide in 32. However, the fourth root of, let's think of 2s, that'd be 16. That works. 16 times 2 is 32. And the fourth root of 16, though, is going to be, fourth root of 16 is 2. So the fourth root, so I'll do fourth root of 16 equals 2. Okay, so that's why we'll get a 2. So that will remain there, and then it'll be the fourth root of 2. Awesome. Very happy to help you out. All right, write the polynomial function in standard form and name at least named rational coefficient and leading coefficient 1 given the zeros. All right, so you need to understand if the zeros, if you're given the zeros, it's really important for you to do something. Immediately once you see this, you can say x equals 4 and x equals I. So that's the one work I want you to show. Immediately once you know what the zeros are, write them is equal to, right? Those like x equals 0. Like the zeros are the, on a graph, those are the x-intercepts, right? So x equals 4, x equals I. Now obviously I is imaginary, so that's not going to be an x-intercept, but it's still a solution. We also need to understand that we're going to have a conjugate here. If we have x equals I, then we're going to have x equals negative I. Okay. Now our whole point is find the polynomial function. So these are the zeros. What we're going to want to do is write them as factors. So if you remember the zero product property, you can set these all equal to 0 because that would be what we do. Like when we have the zero product property, that's what we do. We set them equal to 0, or we take the factored form and we take each factor and set them equal to 0 to go ahead and solve. So now I can say that my polynomial, let's call it fy, that's what you did. So y equals a x minus 4 times a x minus I times a x plus I. Now the cool thing about having this x minus I, x plus I is it's a difference of two squares. So this is x minus 4, and then this is going to be a x squared plus 1. Right? So if you just multiply the first two terms and the last two terms, because it's difference two squares, so the middle term is going to go to 0. So now you just need to multiply this. So this would be what? A x cubed minus a 4x squared plus x minus 4. And there you go. That's, was wondering, but I don't think it's the Adriana Sanchez that I had in class, but I just saw the name, so I had to figure out. I have an overall grade in math, which is 63. I took a 10-question quiz and I got an 80. What would be my math grade now? I have no idea. So it all depends. All teachers and everything are going to, how weight your grades completely different. So I apologize. I don't have an answer for you. But I did have a student named Adriana Sanchez, just like you, that I taught last year. Okay, the next one says solve for x. So when I want to solve for x, I have the mid-segment theorem of a trapezoid. So mid-segment theorem of a trapezoid, if I remember correctly, is b1 plus b2 divided by 2 equals the mid-segment. So in this case, I'm going to have so x squared plus 8x plus 15 plus a x squared plus 9x plus 20 divided by 2 equals 2x squared plus 5x. All right, so let's see what we get here. Oh, sorry, Adriana. Don't mean to keep on posting your picture. All right, so let's see. X squared plus x squared is a 2x squared. 8x plus 9x is a 17x. 15 plus 20 is plus 35. All divided by 2. This doesn't seem nice. Equals a 2x squared plus 5x. All right, so that's going to give me a x squared plus 17 halves x plus a 35 halves equals 2x squared plus 5x. All right, so what I would probably do from this case is definitely use the quadratic formula, unless I have something wrong on the formula. I'm getting this wrong, but I would subtract an x squared, and then I'd subtract a 17x x over 2. So therefore, I'm going to have a 5x minus a 17/2 x. So I can rewrite this as a 10x over 2, right? Isn't that the same thing? 10/2 is the same. Minus a 17x over 2. So that's going to be a negative 7x over 2. So I'll have a 0 equals a x squared minus 7x over 2. And then subtract the 35 over 2, right? And minus a 35 over 2 on both sides. And then I would just multiply it 2 back and then go ahead and use the quadratic formula from there, right? So if you actually multiplied, because I don't even know what the question was, solve for x. Yeah, so if you're just going to solve for x, you can just multiply everything back by 2. You actually probably could have done that from there. Why do you even do it that way? If you just, well, whatever. If you want to solve for x, you get 0 equals a 2x squared minus 7x minus 35. And then I just use the quadratic formula. You could have just multiplied from 2 here, and then you would have been fine. I don't know why I would have went through all that work. How do you think I would recover my GPA after a bad semester? Just gotta suck the bullet and see what else you can do, with the teacher. Maybe try to see if you can retake anything, I mean, you don't have to love every teacher, but I think obviously if you need to try to get caught up, try to see what you can redo and retake. All right. So this one says, I don't know why I can't move it. There you go. Okay, the student was asking about how to find the slope. So the slope is going to be the change between any 2 points. Okay, so we have the origin here, which is at 0, 0, right? Okay, then we have this point, which is at -2, -2. So -2, -2. And then we have this point. We're actually going to move that. Okay, and then we have this point, which is at 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, -4. Okay, so you could do the slope formula, right? Which most students are like, what is this? Why am I learning this? Y2 over Y1 over X2 minus X1. But it's really important. All this means is just the change between 2 points. The change in the Y coordinates over the change in the X coordinates. So if we look at these 2 points, we can say, how are they changing, right? Going from one point to the next, how are we changing? And again, it doesn't really matter the order that you're looking. Typically, we like to think about picking one point to be X1, Y1, the other point to be X1 and X2, Y2. But it doesn't really matter which one you pick. So let's look at the change. And here you can say that let's just go from left to right. Okay, so from left to right, the change is going down 2, right? So we could say M equals -2. And then going from left to right, you could say we're going to the right 2. That's going to be +2, which is -1. Now, let's say you want to go it the other way. So if I was going to go from right to left, you could say that the positive change, or going from right to left, you went up 2, right? So that'd be a +2. But then you're going to the left, which would be a -2, okay? And again, if you wanted to plug in the points, if you want to call that Y2, I'm sorry, Y2, what am I doing? You could also use the formula X1, Y1, and then call these, X2, Y2. All just depends on, you can plug them in from there, you get the same answer. And that was another student's question, but hopefully that answers that. Find the intercepts, classify stationary points, find additional inflection points, describe the limiting behavior, find the asymptotes, find the sketch of the graph. That's a lot. Okay. I will just get you set up at least on one thing. First thing I think is very important. Okay, there's a lot that's in that I'm not going to have time to do. But the x-intercept is when y is, well, let's use f of x, is when fx is equal to 0. So 0 equals a x over 4 plus 3 ln of x. Well, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to multiply, right, by a 4 plus a 3 ln of x on both sides, right? And that's just going to go to 0. So x equals 0 is your x-intercept. The y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So let's plug a 0. So therefore I have f of x. So y-intercept or the fx-intercept, whatever. So that's going to be a 0 divided by, I don't really care what's in the denominator, right? Now, plug in 0 in that natural log, that's going to be undefined. So, that's actually a good question. I actually have to go back to my calculus on that one, because that's going to be a 0 over undefined. I'm actually curious on that. I think this would actually be a undefined value, because that's going to be 0 over undefined. And if you have a 0 over undefined, even though anything divided by 0, it's either going to be 0 or undefined. Now I'm going to have to graph this. Crap. Dang it. Why'd you give me that question? I didn't even look at it before, but now I have to take a look at it because I got to make sure I'm going to be giving you the right answer. There's a lot of times where I'll go ahead and review a lot of questions. And that's why I was posting out for you guys. But now I got to go and double check my work here, so I'm not leaving this as a bad answer from there. Ow. It does leave it as that, as an intercept. Okay. Oh, does give it as that point. Either 1 equals 0. Let me see if I can check it one more time. I have a ton of completing the square questions. If you want to go and take a look at any of those, or tutorials basically for you on that. I just want to see. The y-intercept, right? Yeah. All right, I'm going to stick with the undefined, at least as far as going to that, because that's going to be undefined from there. The student was asking for, unless anybody else has. Oh, well, thank you, Scholar. Thank you so much for that. Did I have that posted in there? No. Why did I post in there? Come on. That's annoying. What's going on here? No. Try making advance statements. So thank you so much, well deserved, for being a great teacher. Hands up at you. I greatly appreciate that, Scott. Thank you so much. Yes, I have a ton of those going for you guys for sure. Well, so happy to be able to help you out. All right. So this one, I think the student was just like, what is the slope in the y-intercept? And the y-intercept. Again, the same thing. So the main thing is, guys, when you have y equals 3, okay, when u equals y equals 3, that means you have 1, 2, 3, right? So you're going to have a horizontal line, okay? So the slope here is, there is no up and down, right? So m is going to equal 0, and the y-intercept is going to equal 3. Now, when I have x equals -8, and again, if you want to think about this, y equals y2 over minus y1, right? Over x2 minus x1. Now, the important thing is the x changes. You're actually moving from x coordinate to x coordinate, right? The only thing that's not changing, though, is the y values. So in this case, what we have is 0 over x2 minus x1, right? So that's why your slope is 0. Now, in this one, x equals -8, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But what's important here is I'm going to have a change in my y's over 0. And that's why your m is what we call undefined. And here we also have no y-intercept from in there. Cool. All right, so I'll just take a couple more questions for you guys in on the chat. For you guys have, and then yeah, I know some of you guys got exams coming up, so I hope you guys have wish you guys all the best of luck on that. Let's put that in there. There you go. All right. The perimeter rhombus, you're probably going to look at, I'm not sure on the problem, but a lot of times when you're dealing with the rhombus, look for using special right triangles, like for those angles of the side. Obviously, you know all four sides are going to be the same, but for the slanted ones, look for using triangles, especially right triangles, or special right triangles. It's going to be helpful. Well, very happy to be able to help you out. Yes, to focus more on teacher for there. Yeah. Well, sorry about that. It's kind of crappy thing, and yeah, it's a tough thing dealing with, teachers. Like, it's kind of the, like what are so much of the options, right? I mean, there's just very kind of limited there for you. But I think being able to do whatever you can do to get by through the year, to get by whatever you need to do to get up the grade, and the hopefully with at least the circumstances we've been dealing with, the teacher has some things in place that you can try to overcome from that. How do you find equations for okay word problem system equations? I think the main thing is just, you gotta identify the variables from on there. And once you've identified the variables, then you just got to know, you got to think about like how many equations are you setting up, right? And those variables are going to be the same from on that. Well, I'm not going to call it any names, but I've definitely had some bright students in my class for sure. Do the best you could possibly do, and that is all you can do. I mean, I think it's helpful. I'm not sure what you in conic sections. I mean, I think as long as you know the equation of a circle, parabola, an ellipse, I mean, you'll be good. I live in Florida in the United States. I'm not going to go through names. Are you playing? What's the difference between f of x equals and x equals? We're currently graphing quadratic. So f of x would represent, when we have fx equals, what we're setting is that's like the same as like the y coordinate. Or the y-intercept. So that's typically going to be the typically when we solve for y, that's either like y is equal to f into your equation is it's kind of hard to kind of look in this. And hey, Jordan, how are you? Yeah, for sure. What is so it depends on how you mean by the fx, but when I'm looking at like when I have an f of x equals, right? So that's going to be like you can think about this like the fx axis and the x-axis, okay? So that's basically when you have, so when we have a quadratic and I have like f of x equals, let's say x squared plus, 3x plus 2, whatever. So now when I'm just solving like the x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0, right? Well, what that means is f of x is equal to 0, right? So it's not like x equals something. It's just f of x is now turned into 0. And in the same regard, like when I have, f of x equal to, 0 squared plus 3 times 0 plus 2, well, then x is equal to 0. Now, again, what does this all mean? Well, that is when we want to solve for our x-intercept. And this is when we want to solve for our y-intercept, right? Also known as the fx axis. What is the prerequisites? What is the prerequisite for learning calculus? Love your videos, sir. For learning calculus, yeah, I'd just say trig and knowing some algebra from on there. Jordan, 2018. Good question. I don't remember. I'm not sure. I mean, if you're probably your sophomore year, then yeah. I thought fx meant you were looking for the domain. So it really kind of depends on how the question is being framed and what you're trying to look for. But fx is going to represent the output value. Okay. Let's see. There's a couple of questions that did get added, so I hate doing questions on the Rhyme, but I did tell people to, hey, go ahead and post your questions. So I was like, well, you know what? I might as well go ahead and take some of these questions. Let's go and see if I can answer these here. All right, so I got that one. Kevin S. Do most community colleges allow you to skip pre-calc? So Kevin S. says, do most community colleges allow you to skip pre-calc and go straight to calc? I have no idea what community colleges do, unfortunately. Sorry about that. But I definitely just talk about to your guidance counselor. All right, so this person did ask me to do this. So, oh, they did provide a picture, actually. Let's see what their picture looks like. Okay. All right, let's finish the problem for them. Okay. So in this case, we have a 9x squared minus 9x. So, yep, that's good. This is middle term. Let's split it up. Gotcha. So then they do the factoring. So then all you simply want to do is... okay, so now what you're going to want to do is see how these terms are split by the negative, right? So now we have these two expressions. So we have this expression minus this expression, right? So we have let me do it below. I don't want to, it's kind of confusing. Okay, so what we have is we have an expression minus another expression. Now, what do these two expressions have in common? They have an x minus 1 in common, right? They both have these two expressions in common. So if we factor out an x minus 1, then we'll be left with a 9x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, so therefore x minus 1 equals 0, and a 9x minus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, we can have x equals 1, and x equals add 4 divided by 9 is a 4/9. All right. Yes, I definitely agree. Mary, you can either put it into these type of questions if you have from there, or brianmclogan.com, or go to the Discord. But I'm a little bit split on time from here. And please go ahead. I'm not going to be able to get to any additional crazy questions from there. I'm trying to answer any quick questions people have started. I meant to ask anything on Calculus 3. I'm studying can you give me advice on how to do well in Calculus 3? I think just main thing is like going over your note. I mean, it's the same thing for any course. It doesn't matter if it's Calculus 3, Calc 2, Calc 1. You got to just go back through the work, make sure you're doing the work, make sure you're doing the notes. If you're stuck, you don't understand something, ask your questions, go to a tutor lab, get with groups of friends, ask your teacher. I don't think there's anything different with Calc 3 than any other course for you on that. Hi, I hate to bother you, but I'm struggling on just one small little question. On the teacher's key, it goes from the 2 over the square root of 2 to just the square root of 2. How does this happen? So I believe, so let's write this in there. And so I don't know what your teacher had, but on the teacher's key, it goes for 2 over the square root of 2. All right, so let's see what that looks like. So you have a 2 over the square root of 2. And then you could rationalize the denominator. And then you have a 2 square root of 2 over 2. Then the 2's divide out, and you just get a square root of 2. So that's what your teacher did. I definitely agree. And how would you solve the exponent of x prime? Yeah. What we're looking at, okay. How does this happen? Okay, so we got that one. All right. We're graphing quadratics in class right now. What is the difference between y? Oh, so you got to answer that. Oh, now I get to look at your question. Thank you, Madison. Oh, I'm not really sure. Not sure what your question actually helps out with. So hopefully my answer, Medicine, helped you out as far as that fx and g of x thing. Hopefully. So Jordan, let me know, where are you at now? What do you think? So you did Calc 2 and Calc 3 at college. Well, awesome. Congrats to you. And BC's blessing. She is tough. Yeah, I must add you for on the pre-calc, if I remember correctly. Calc 1, Calc 3. So are you done, Jordan? Where are you at? Let me know. Hey man, I saw you were live. I really found your channel 2 weeks ago. I loved the videos. I have a low C in class and your grades helped me so much exam. I got a 92 in Turnacine. Well, awesome. Congratulations. Good for you. So happy we'll help you out. Well, awesome. Yellow. How would you solve a quadratic by graphing? You just got to graph and then find the x-intercepts. So typically it's still going to be better to find those x-intercepts by like factoring or quadratic formula or completing the square and then and then graphing it in that way. But again, if you can graph it or if you can find the graph, then where the graph crosses the x-intercept is where it's at. Awesome. Congrats to you. That's good to hear. So awesome. All right, guys. I am... okay, I got, I think, 2 more questions. You guys are going to keep on adding questions. Keeping me up at night. All right, let's get into a literal equation because I did remember seeing somebody was... Oh, come on. Not very many. I don't know. I'm going to try to get the last 2 questions and then I'm just going to call it quits. Let me see. See what I can answer left and for. No, my brain hurts. So I'm not going to be able to get to more, but I might come back to that proof. Yeah, my brain hurts. All this. I'm gonna wrap up with this one, but please, guys, if you do have questions, just remember I do go live each and every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys can definitely go and submit your questions. Go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and you guys can definitely go ahead and submit your questions each and every Sunday night for me to go and answer. In this last example that was provided, or if you need help from there, you guys can definitely go and check out the Discord server as well. All right. So in this last one, it says solve for x. So we have 3x minus 3c equals 6. So we just want to isolate this x, right? So we're going to add a 3c to both sides. I have 3x equals, that's a 3c. Don't know why I have an I there. So 3c plus 6 divide by 3, x equals a c plus 2. All right, guys. I've been on way too late. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me tonight. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Cheers.